This is the Peter Greenwood Show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and to my right is a gentleman who is doing many shows.
Many shows, Looking for Laughs.
Yes, at the Fringe Festival. It is called Looking for Laughs. Could you tell me your name, please?
My name's Stephen Sharp, and yeah, it's a dating show called Looking for Laughs.
How are you today, Stephen?
I'm great. I'm a little bit sweaty.
Yeah, Edinburgh in August just has that extra oomph where it's like, do you like body liquids? Here's at least 14, and you don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah, that and the clamour of tourists.
Yes.
It's all mixing together.
Yeah, it's a bit, A, it's very hilly, and B, it's very sweaty here in Edinburgh.
Yeah, like a soup, like a melting point of cultures and sweat.
Yeah, and you don't know whose soup you're going to bathe in from one day to the next, which is something I didn't think I'd say when I woke up this morning.
That's beautiful, Peter.
So let's talk about the show. It is called Looking for Laughs. How long have you been doing it, and where did the show come from?
The show started 3 years ago. I had done a show for my birthday, my first ever show, and my second show I wanted to put on a blind date on stage. And basically we got a friend, Judy. She said, I'll have a date on stage, and from that point on I've been, since that day, finding dates for people for the last 3 years. That date was Fire. My dad's band played, the Beagles, a Beatles and the Eagles tribute band. So,
there is so much to unpack just from that one thing.
Yeah.
First thing I want to touch on is the Beagles, which is a fantastic name. Now, are they like, there's a band called Elvana who play Elvis versions of Nirvana songs? Do they play Beatles versions of Eagles songs, or how does that work?
well, my dad's like this is so dumb. They play their own songs, which are all basically like early Beatles, but it's Beagles, and it's like the Beagles are coming to town. I'm glad the Beagles are here. The Beagles just left town. When are the Beagles coming back? I'm so sad. I miss the Beagles. Hooray, the Beagles. It's very cyclic. It's very much like early Beatles, and yeah, it's my dad and a bunch of his friends just mucking about. So they sang Taylor Swift Love Song to open the show.
That's a fantastic song to open with. And what happened on that first show? When did you know, yes, this is going to work, this is amazing, I am going to dedicate the next 3 years of my life to this?
I did not know that. Judy's very funny, so like 10 seconds in, she was I basically had a fiery, beautiful woman who was acerbic, witty, and incredibly feminist. And then I had this guy called Tom Pickles who was just like gentle, kind, amenable, and that combination of those two people just made for... Have you ever heard good conversation described as sexless flirting?
Yes.
There was a real sexy flirting vibe to it, where Judy was constantly trying to like pin Tom down to make him look inappropriate, and Tom was constantly boxing his way out. The audience loved it straight off the bat, and the improv was amazing. So I had a bunch of improvisers who basically blew up through COVID. Essentially, the Glasgow scene was germinated in COVID through Will Hines' improv school. So there's a kind of comedy god called Will Hines, and he trained us all during COVID, and then we burst out the other side of COVID with this massive new skill set, which was amazing.
And you say it was a date on stage. Like, what kind of date is it? How similar to Blind Date is it, and what are the differences?
It's a real date. They've never met, and they're blindfolded. On the first show, they actually had an alien mask on, and I think it was a Sean Connery mask, because I had no other way of blindfolding them. And then they just genuinely... They make eye contact for the first time on stage, and that's really important because I think there's something magical about two people meeting for the first time. It's kind of like two synapses trying to connect.
Yeah.
We just don't know what's going to happen, and you can read so much, but what's really strange is the audience impose what they want more often than not. And yeah, it was just fire, basically, from the first moment. And at the end of it, I was like, that went well, thank you. And someone came up and said, when's the next one?
Which is what you want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I was so naive at that time. I was like, I don't know if I could do another one. so that just kind of led to more and more shows, and each time iterating, tuning. We added audience questions. We added a section where they decide date or no date at the end. And Yeah, we're now at 60-something, 62 shows, and we're just about to do another 13 at Fringe. And yeah, we've had a lot of men be rejected on stage. Actually, we've had a lot.
That's what I wanted to ask, but I wanted to be kind of respectful and subtle about it. Like, how has anyone gotten together from it, and what are the best rejections that you've ever seen?
So we've had a couple of like second date, third dates, short-term flings, no full relationships
Yet.
yet. We've had 2 kisses on stage.
Ooh,
Yeah, that was
spicy.
spicy. Yeah, there was a massive show at Bad where we got like a production team in to really do the matching, and we filmed that and invited loads of people from BBC and television, and basically this huge show. What's interesting is when people fancy each other, they actually conversationally play it more safe. So the date was quite low key. But then at the end, she was just like grabbed him and kissed him on stage, and the whole audience went wild. And then, yeah, in early shows, we used to have, they showed a sign that says date or no date, and they would just turn around and show it to each other. But men just kept getting rejected on stage. There was like 26 consecutive men being rejected. Basically, it's unspoken in dating, but women decide.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think, well, I've got an analogy actually, and this is one that I didn't make up, I heard it, but dating for men is like going through a desert looking for a glass of clean water. And dating for women is like going through a swamp looking for a glass of clean water.
That's a good analogy.
You don't really want to be in the desert, and you don't really want to be in the swamp. But when you're in the desert, you think the swamp is nice, and when you're in the swamp, you think the desert is nice.
Yeah. It sounds excellent fun.
The show is just... There's been people doing like the snake on stage. People we've had a couple of problematic men.
That's something else I wanted to ask. Like, in 2025, there are still problematic people in the world. How much of that do you know before going into it? Is that a complete surprise to you as host?
So, I now vet. There's a kind of double vet. So there's a form, then there's a meet, and then there's a second meet generally, and then there's a chat with the kind of team, and then what we try and do. And this doesn't always happen because we're a small show, and sometimes people drop out at the last moment, and I'm like, I just need someone who's reasonably nice. But we had a situation where a guy said he had a poster of Andrew Tate.
Oh,
I didn't know who Andrew Tate was, so I was like, oh, this guy's bad, the audience don't like him. Because, my YouTube is literally just carpentry, sad poems, and improv, basically. So that I'm completely cut off from the world.
the bubble we mentioned.
Yeah, I'm in a total bubble, and I'm in this little bubble of like working hard to promote my show, and so I was really surprised because I didn't know who he was. But then it kind of transpired that we've had 2 guys really be a bit douchey. And that led to like us reframing the form. I've now got a 3-page PDF document for straight men on how to have a date, which is basically like interspersed with caps, just being like, ask questions. You want to blow their minds? Ask a follow-up question on your question, which is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, have you ever been on a date and not been asked any questions?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, it happens a lot. Like, I'm kind of naturally curious about people, like doing this kind of job, and so I want to ask follow-up questions like, oh, you did this, how did that go? What happened when you did this, and this? Like, I want the follow-ups. But then it's been like, oh, what do you do? Oh, radio. And that's all I've gotten.
Whoa.
Like, I understand maybe it's not the most accessible thing to talk about, but oh, what music do you play? What show? What's there? There's questions there.
That to me seems, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. Were those like, how did you approach that when that happened?
I think at that point I was like, yeah, we'll just be friends at this point.
Yeah, I mean, so we tried that for a while. We tried to have 3 flowers. That was one of the iterations of the show was red flower for romance. I think it was like black flower for hell no, and like a yellow flower for like friendship, and people just could not get their heads around it, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So we changed it to actually my late friend Martin, who passed away. It was actually just a month ago. I was chatting to him about it, and he was like, "Why don't you just make it really simple? Do you want to date or not date? That's it. Put one on one side of a card and one on the other." And yeah, like that's led to men being rejected. Now, I just want to say we do no longer have men directly rejected. What they do now is they whisper in my ear what if they want to date or not date, and then I press a neon. One says date and one says not date, so the audience don't know, and the only person who knows essentially is me, which kind of reduces the sting. But interestingly, the audience can very rarely tell. But there's I think there's a magic about the alchemy of dating. Like if I was to set you up with someone, I wouldn't just be like, well, they should be into radio, they should be into media, they should be curious about people, they should have their own show. That's not necessarily how I would set you up. What I would look at is like the underlying energy, and like what is it that like motivates you, and also just look for someone that would spark off of your personality.
Yeah.
It's strange, you can put two people together and all their interests can be the same. We did a show for the BBC, right? We spent 7 weeks trying to match for this show, right? We're really like nervous. We're going on the BBC. Michelle McManus was introducing us, and we found this couple, and so they had so much in common. They had salsa, they both loved to dance, they both loved to be outside, they both loved to hill walk, they both loved travelling, and when they went on a date they talked about none of those things.
Right.
And he ended up telling her, and I don't know how it happened, about how his ex's mum thought he infected her computer with a virus by looking at porn.
Wow.
So just like,
That's a thing.
there's no accounting
Yeah.
for, like, conversations will flow like liquids,
Yeah.
and there's no accounting for where we end up together.
That must be kind of nerve-wracking though. Like you think it's going to go one way and it goes completely different. How do you handle that as host?
We've only had one. We've had two problematic guys, and we've had one genuine disaster. Like genuine, like, oh my god, like we stop this date?
Did you?
I did not. She basically stripped him for parts. It was a guy who, before the show, what I'll say to someone is, no racism, no sexism, no homophobia, no transphobia, and don't say anything that you wouldn't say in front of your gran, like in some regard. But at the same time, like, we don't want you to be as vanilla as like pineapple on pizza, but and like, I'm happy for you to be like, we never landed on the moon, but we don't want to end up in any territory that's like, if we end up into like the Queen is a lizard, like that's going to make things difficult.
That's taking the turn.
Yeah, that's probably right at the edge of what we're okay with. So this guy was like, listen, let me explain the depths of racism and how it works. And I don't know a lot about racism. Right. So I was just like, well, I just try and treat everyone as an equal. And I try and, if I say something that someone calls me on, I make a mental note of it.
Yeah.
That's literally how I live my life.
Yeah.
And he went on stage. He was certain like that he was like the man. We blindfolded them for the whole first half, which we've never done again because they just argued. And what ended up happening was they had basically like a conversational battle where she talked about skiing and said, but, aren't skiers all, cunts? And he was like, well, just the women ones.
Right. Oh, God.
The whole audience is like, you're on a date in front of an audience talking. Like, how can that? So she turned to the audience and went, would any woman in this audience date this man? 10 seconds of silence. A tumbleweed could have rolled across the front of the stage. He still thought he had a chance. Then, and that was Lucy Holden, who writes for, she's written a book and she writes for The Guardian, and Lucy is so witty and such a live wire and creative and funny. and she managed that date with skill and aplomb. But I really changed my tact on how deep I go with people beforehand. So yeah, on the other end of things, we've had lovely men. You know, Hitesh Rahor was on, and he was just like so witty, so funny, so kind, and yeah, I would say like we've had 3 kind of problematic guys. Well, one wasn't, I wouldn't say even problematic. He was just a bit of a douche. She said, "How long have you been single?" And he was like, "I'm not single. My girlfriend's in the audience right now."
Oh my god. Why?
So, and he was like, "I'm polyamorous." And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, okay.
He mentioned this, and I had failed to check with her if that was something. So that was really on me, but it was a real needle scratch for the audience.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Someone actually said that.
I mean, even until you said he's polyamorous, I was like, oh, why would you? And I was like, okay, yeah.
But he made her stand up and then said, "Stevie Wonder, isn't she lovely?" It's kind of strange.
That sounds odd.
So basically, the magic. I want someone to fall in love. That would be the dream. How do you help someone fall in love? And there's this like some kind of secret alchemy. I will say something though, right? Everyone who gets involved with the show, or has a date on the show, or works on the show, that is single, genuinely ends up meeting someone.
Really?
Yeah, there's this strange alchemy. Evie, our producer, she was like, "I am perennially single. I have accepted it. Like, I'm just, I'm a strange flavour, and not many people like this flavour, but I like the flavour that I am." She was really strong, funny, confident, whip-smart woman. Met someone. Working on the show about 8 months, met someone. A guy who had never had a girlfriend, 25 years old, signed him up for the show. 2 weeks before, he's like, "I've met this girl. I just bought her a book on birds. I think I really like her." I was like, okay. Daphne, she's an animator, French animator, and she had the worst relationship luck. She went on a date with Charlie. It wasn't the best date. Charlie was lovely, but it was not a good match. Got a boyfriend now. I'm like really happy. There's something about putting the energy out there of saying, "I am willing, I am brave enough to make this jump." And I think that energy that you put out, all of a sudden that reflects back and people notice it and they receive it.
Sounds fabulous. I might have a word with you after we stop recording.
Well, would you have a blind date on stage?
I would do. I'm not against. I'd potentially be up for it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a chat.
Okay, let's have a chat. Let's see what
Because
happens.
you seem non-problematic.
I try very hard not to be problematic.
Yeah.
As you said, let people do what they're going to do. Live your life. Love your life. You do you.
Yeah. Do as you please as long as you harm no one.
Yeah.
I think that's the magic. There's definitely a sense of you want some of the audience come waiting for a bad date.
Yeah.
And
People love a train crash.
Yeah. And we had like a date where they had met before and she didn't like him.
Oh. Did it go better the second time?
Well, she took the blindfold off and went, "Oh, fuck."
Wow, if I were the gentleman, I would have a hard time coming back from that. It's not impossible, but it's
Credit
it's
to
difficult.
him, he asked her out after the show, despite that date having no laughs for the entire first half, which is a first for us. The date is normally filled with laughs. I mean, laughter's really just about tension a lot of the time.
Yeah, and breaking the tension.
And so there's so much tension that we have this enjoyable time. Because that's when the improvisers come on. We've had all this tension from the dates, and then what we do is we create comedy sketches out of the date chat. And at that point, it's like a huge relief for the audience. Because they're like, "Oh, we're in safe hands. We're not in this strange area anymore."
Yeah.
Even though we're all just winging it and making it up off the spot. I mean, my improvisers they're some of the best improvisers in Scotland, if not the country, and they are so funny, so witty, so fast, and they could do a show off of a word. So when you give them 12 minutes of date material, they just fly.
And off it goes into the mists.
Oh my
never
God.
to be seen again.
Yeah, that's improv. That's very much improv.
So, what happens to the show after this? Are you taking it anywhere else?
So there's a documentary being made about me. I set the target 2 years ago that we were in Van Winkle's. We had 22 people at the show, and I said I want to get this on TV. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. They were just like, okay. But we've got a documentary crew now following us for Fringe and have been following us on a run to see if we can maybe manage to get it on TV. So the dream is to put Looking for Laughs on TV and to kind of get it to a wider public. That's the big dream. We'll be returning to Blackfriars, which is our old stomping ground, when we go back to Glasgow, and then I'm going to branch out. I've got another little show called Pump My Pal, which is so silly. Got to show it. So what it is you get your friend and you put them on stage and you basically sell them through PowerPoint. And there's versions of this around the world, but in Scotland, I feel like we'll be really quite witty because your friends love you, but they're also brutal.
Yeah, they will roast you like no one else on earth.
So the plan is to have two people on stage and then two PowerPoints, and I'll try and match them beforehand. And then the audience decide if they match. And if the audience decide they don't match, I'm going to say, does anyone know anyone single that should, having seen this PowerPoint, that should date your friend? And then I'm going to try and get that call to happen on stage.
That would be excellent.
So the button of the show will be to try and make a date happen. But the meat of the show is this insane PowerPoint with friends roasting each other. And I think that's the themes of the work that I love to do.
Yeah.
Actually, it came because Leon, we're in with Leon and Blackfriars. He came to me and said, I've got this idea. And what I thought was brilliant about it was my friends had broken up with his girlfriend of 12 years and met someone 2 weeks later who had also broken up with their partner of 12 years. It was this strange alchemy. And there was a girl there bemoaning how hard it was to be single. And I brought up that this had happened to a friend, like silently, and she ranted about it. She was like, oh, typical men. 2 weeks single after 12 years. And what I realised is, like, the joy of roasting your friends in front of an audience is so feeding. It's just so enjoyable. So that's the thing that I think Scottish people are great at. We're great at, like, teasing each other, loving each other well, but teasing each other mercilessly.
Yeah, we're good at that. That's kind of our bread and butter up here in Scotland. And I also feel like the Scottish, and I feel like probably some other comedian has said this, like, nobody can roast themselves like a Scot.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. There's definitely a sense where there's a little bit of tall poppy syndrome in it, but there's definitely a sense where you just kind of look at yourself. And someone said to me here, "You're David Tennant, right?" And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And then he went 30%, and I was like, "All right, thanks." And then his friend went tumble dried, and I was like, "Cool." And I realised that meant short.
Oh, I thought it meant like the hair, like no, the doctors like the hair.
I think it meant shrunk. And then they were like looking at me at this point, and they were like, "But hand drawn from memory." It's just like, it's no longer a compliment.
Wow, that's getting worse and worse.
It's just like wandering about it, but it's Glasgow. That's what people have, that fearlessness of just enter. And I think there's a friendliness that comes with that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a closeness, but there's also a brutality.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're in Edinburgh and doing the Edinburgh Fringe, but I say to people, like, if you want to see touristy things, come to Edinburgh. If you want to see Scotland, come to Glasgow. Just walk around, talk to people.
Yeah.
That's more Scotland, I think.
Definitely in Glasgow, you will have a strange interaction. There's more surface area for that unusual being brought into someone's life. I think as well, Glasgow tends to adopt people quick.
Yeah, which is lovely. I love that part of Glasgow.
Yeah, I mean, my view is if you've lived in Glasgow for a year, you're a Glaswegian. That's kind of it. Like, At
a certain point in time, that would have been if you survived in Glasgow a year.
Oh my God. It was so scary growing up. Like,
it really was. Like, I come from a place called Campbelltown, 130, 40 miles away from here, and we were told about Glasgow growing up, and then it's like, off you go to live in Glasgow. And like, whoa, wait, what, whoa, who? It was terrifying.
Yeah, there were, like, so in the 70s there was like a lot of gang fights and a lot of like, the knife culture was crazy, but Chris, John and I all kind of grew up in like local Glasgow, and after the show one day we started telling stories of like the violence, and I won't go into the violence, but like the craziness of how it been. I remember I was dating my first girlfriend, right? Left the house, and we were like she was 17, I was 18, right? So we're just at the end of school, and we're going out to a restaurant together, and someone in her area walked behind us with a machete and was like, "Can I talk to you guys?" And I remember running down the street, holding my girlfriend's belt. She's wearing silly little flip-flops.
Yeah.
And we're just like, "No, we're all right, buddy." and then we just went and had dinner. We were just like, right, that was fun.
Yeah, well, that was unusual. Anyway, what starter would you like?
I think we should have the chicken wings. Machete guy comes up, just starts chopping it up for us. Like,
would you like some shaved parmesan? How many users can you get out of machete in the restaurant? There's a show in that.
True.
Well, it can be.
But it has changed. There's definitely a difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't even hear Glasgow kiss anymore.
No, that's a term which has kind of died out.
That has died out.
Yeah.
Like, being headbutted doesn't happen as regularly.
That is good, though.
That is good.
It's a good thing.
That's good.
Why did I say that like a question? It's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Definitely,
Full stop. Question
definitely.
mark.
Well
Good.
done, Glasgow.
Yeah.
Well done. Like, maybe we should try and change that to something else.
Yeah, and we love putting traffic cones on things in Glasgow, don't we?
Yeah, there's we put the Looking for Laughs logo on the Duke of Wellington. It's just so crazy that is someone's house. The Goma was someone's house.
Yeah,
that's how crazily rich people were.
Yeah,
like we talk about wealth in now, but I'm sure it was just as bad.
Yeah, it was. I can imagine it was terrible then. And you read documents, and it's like, oh, they bought this for £250, and it's like that was in 1849, which today is 100 million or something like that.
I'll have my house 12 pillars at the front, yes, 60 feet high, 3 floors. But yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that I would say, if I was to give advice to anyone, right, and this is something that I would say from doing a show, and I've started from nowhere, right, I've got no profile, no one knows me. And if you're out there and you've got no profile and you're doing a show, I guess like there's a little fork in the road that a lot of people go down the wrong fork, and I'd really like to point this out to people. And it slightly disengages in terms of like, I believe really strongly in Rick Rubin that you make the art that you want to make, but the art that you want to make should be about the audience's experiential journey. So see when the audience come in, how do you want them to feel? How do you want them to experience the show? And putting on a really good show. There's so many talented people, right? I mean, we're in Edinburgh right now. I went to see
at the world's biggest art festival.
Jeremiah Detto yesterday, Gary Starr, like these guys, like just been blown away show after show after show. Pickled Republic, like there's so many great shows, right? And unfortunately in the modern world you have to try and manufacture something that is not only delightful for people but also delightful for you. And the strange thing is it's very easy to fall into either being completely self-indulgent on one side, which is just like, this is the show I want to make, you know, it's all about ball boys in the 90s. I was a ball boy in the 90s. I mean, you could make that show, but there's something about marketing a show and giving it to people on a plate to say, this is a thing that I think you would delight in seeing. And it's that belief in your own thing that I think maybe on the side of Scottish people or Glaswegian people are so good at being self-deprecating, but they really struggle to big themselves up and to put themselves out there.
Yeah, I have that problem myself.
Really?
It's a massive issue. Like, I'm not one of those people who'd be like, hi guys, like, click and subscribe. I cannot do that physically. There's something about that I can't do, and I don't begrudge others who can do it. I wish I could, but I just can't do it. There's something in me that's like, no, nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to listen to this. So that's a problem.
I guess, so I had that, and here's how I worked through it. basically was doing my show for the first 5, right? And we had a show, 5th or 6th Looking for Laughs show. Friends have stopped coming by your 5th or 6th show, right? No one's there except the public.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like a community, you can maybe do that at an improv school. But if you're at the general public, and the general public they have a standard that they want, right? So 13 people came to the show, and it looked almost full, but there was one seat empty. I used to put tables out, and a girl came in to buy chicken wings, and she was like, "I'm just here for some chicken wings," and I was like, "Would you eat them at my show?" And she was like, "Okay," and I convinced her to sit, and we did a good show, and it was funny. And after that show, I said, I will never ever be worrying about how many people are going to come to my show. Printed off 100 A4 posters, not expensive, and went round the entire block where we were and just plastered them anywhere I could. I went into lifts in university campuses, topped my way into places, and just like anywhere there was dwell time where people would slow down and would look at the poster, I went out. And this is basically how I grew the show. A one-man campaign of putting posters up over and over and over again, because I didn't know how to use Instagram. I didn't know how to do any social media. And the next show, in fact, do you know where the longest dwell time where people are bored is? Can you tell?
Is it a toilet?
Yes.
Yes.
Back of a toilet, and in there's a bar called the 78. They let me put them in the back of the toilet, and we got 27 people for our next show.
That's excellent.
And from there we grew. But see that little spark, like see that dividing line of there is someone out there that needs your show, right? And your show will be the catalyst that allows them to make their show.
Yeah.
And if you don't reach them like two synapses trying to fire at each other, then they're not going to get activated and go and make the art that they need to make.
Yeah.
And if you kind of have a viewpoint of it, of you've got this magic inside you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you.
I like how you're like, I'm not.
No, I was listening. I was like, thank you. I tend to take things in and think and process.
Are you like a slow cooker, yeah?
I'm a fast cooker, but then I need to re-evaluate everything that I'm thinking. I'm a double thinker. Like, on Countdown, I can get the numbers around instantly, but I could not tell you how to do it if my life depended on it.
Whoa.
It's bizarre.
That is bizarre.
Isn't it?
I just so you know, I can never get the numbers right again.
Now, not every time, but I see it, I'm like, oh, that goes to bed. But then if you said, how did you do that?
Whoa, what's going on in your brain?
Oh, I wish I knew. That's longer than we have time for today. Where can people find out more about you on social media?
We're at lookingforlaughs.ig on Instagram, and we've got a website called lookingforlaughs.co.uk, and we have a web form. So if anyone wants to apply to be a date and have a date during Fringe or in the future, and they're non-problematic, just basically DM us on Insta or DM us on TikTok or hit us up on the website, and yeah, we would love to have you.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Looking for Laughs is playing every day at Blether at Gilded Balloon Patter House at 8:20 in the evening until the 25th of August. For more information, go to edfringe.com and type in Looking for Laughs. For the Peter Greenwood Show at the Edinburgh Fringe, I'm Peter Greenwood. See you next time.